We're following the latest developments surrounding the Freddie Gray case. Baltimore police officer Cesar Goodson has been cleared of all charges related to Gray's death. He was originally facing the most serious charges of second-degree heart-depraved murder and 6 other lesser charges. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman has been following the case for us. And Rikki, thanks so much for being here. Judge Barry Williams said that the court found there was insufficient evidence here really supporting the argument that Goodson, in this case, the driver that he was carrying Gray after his arrest, gave a rough ride. What do we know about this?
One of the things that happens is that we think we know everything because of news accounts, whether it's in print or whether it's on television or whether it's digital. And certainly the whole theory of this case was that Cesar Goodson, as the driver, was the most responsible because he intended to give a quote-unquote rough ride, which I've just read in a novel, is also called The Baltimore Bounce, which I thought was very intriguing. That the idea the prosecution said was that he was going to go around turns quick and go back and forth, side to side, and jostle Freddie Gray in order to injure him. So they had to prove that. So what Judge Barry Williams did was he listened to the evidence. Well, even the prosecution's own expert testified that they couldn't say it was a rough ride. They had one snippet of video which shows going around one turn wide after rolling through a stop sign, which is not uncommon for a police officer who is delivering a combative prisoner. And that was certainly the theory of the defense.
Some sticking point there. Prosecutors to this point have not been able to convict anyone. You have 3 of the 6 officers involved that had no convictions. What does that tell you?
Well, it could tell you a number of things. It could certainly tell you that the case was overcharged, and that also could tell you perhaps it was a rush to judgment. This was one of the quickest charging decisions in terms of police officer investigations for alleged violence toward a prisoner or toward someone on the street. And it came that fast, and it had been said by many that this was way too fast. But while I say that, we have to remember that after the prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby, made a decision to charge, she did put the case into a grand jury. And the grand jury was thoughtful because it didn't just affirm the charges that she asked for. It threw out a couple of charges along the way. But ultimately, these investigations of police officer use of force tend to take a very, very long time. So this was fast, and that it was charged all the way up to these involuntary manslaughter theories and also for Mr. Goodson to the murder. And many legal experts said a murder charge will not stick here.
Yeah. Yes, we heard that over and over again. I have to ask, though, how much do you think the trial by judge instead of a jury had on this case? Do you think there would have been any difference if there had been a jury in the courtroom?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, one of the things that all of the defendants moved vigorously was to ask the court to have a change of venue, that they felt it wasn't necessarily that people were quote-unquote biased and could not be fair and impartial in some abstract sense. You had a city that burned.
Right.
You had riots in that city as a result of the death of Freddie Gray and the anger toward the Baltimore Police Department in general and these officers specifically. So the idea that you could pick a jury in this city was certainly one that could have been tenuous at best. That motion was denied. So when we saw the first verdict, which was a mistrial, meaning no verdict, that you had a community that was so split, even on a case that was thin, that the second trial decided that they would go before a judge. That fellow, Officer Nero, his charges were far less severe, and he came just at the beginning. But that could have made a lawyer think, well, my client is the one indicted for murder. Maybe I shouldn't go with the judge. But he wasn't willing to take a chance with the jury in Baltimore after the acquittal in the mistrial.
Makes sense. Rikki Klieman, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jimmy.